just taking the bike away for some repairs and a service. Now, the repairs are the rear brake pads. I don't think there's anything left on them. And then the other is to have the front brake switch sorted. That stopped working on the last day before leaving Europe. Paul pointed it out to me, because at that point I was just using my front brake, because the day before I'd noticed that the back brake pads were, well, I know the noise they make when they're worn out. I've had it happen enough times before, so I know that's what it was. And he noticed when I was braking that no light came on, so I meddled with him behind me and confirmed it was working all right with me back brake pedal, but not with my front brake lever. So that's going to be repaired today. New brake pads fitted, and I had them last replaced about September last year, but I've just done just short of 4,000 miles over the last few weeks, and a lot of that was coming down high alpine passes, so a lot of back brake work, so it will have worn them out a little bit quicker than normal, although I am still a little bit surprised at how quickly they have worn out. Then there's a service. I had a major service done before I went away. Well, the engine is a little raggedy just at the minute. When I check the service intervals, they are about 3,500 miles between services, and of course I've done 4. So I've gone past the service interval, although to be fair, not by very much. Those are the only 2 things that went awry with the bike while I was away. Every day, choke on, press the starter, bike fired up first time. Can't really complain about that, not for a 17-year-old bike. I have Road Echo 1s are still on. I've done 6,000 miles on them now. There's still a bit of life left in them, as it happens. Don't know how much. But they have sort of squared off a little bit. But we haven't really got, no, I don't know. I'd say we haven't got a lot of summer left. I've got another holiday to go on, which means the bike will be laid up for about another 3 or 4 weeks, and normally I put it away sort of October time, but I don't know. I think last winter seemed a bit mild, so I might ride it a bit more. We'll see. Those tyres should be good if the Missenden flies right for, say, another 2,000 miles. I think what we have got is a weekend away in August, but not very many miles. It's Peak District we're going to, which is 50 or 60 miles away from where I live, and each of the days are quite short ones, probably under 100 miles each day, so might do top 300-400 miles. These tyres should be good for that, and it's no motorway stuff, it's all country lanes and what have you, so the tyres will get rounded off again. I'm taking the bike this time to a place called Weston's. I've been going to them for quite a while, as it happens, probably about 8 years. Never had any issues, but they're quite convenient. Drop the bike off, they've got a bus stop right outside the shop, and today I need to get back to Halton so I can drop off some library books. So the bus outside goes straight into Halton. I can drop the library books off, or renew them, sorry, and then hop on another bus to get home. But really, it's quite convenient for what I need to do today. P&A's alright, they're just as convenient in a lot of respects. It is possible for me to get a bus from outside their shop to more or less outside my house. It's just a matter of timing. Now, I've handed over all of my videos to Paul. He's got 0.5 terabyte of footage to get through, in addition to his own, and I believe he's got hundreds of hours of video of his own. So he's going to be quite a busy little man all the way through the winter, I think. I think his plans are day to day, so day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, etc. videos for each of the days that we're away. But he also then wants to do a separate video for each pass, like that, the whole pass. I don't really know how he plans to do that, whether he's going to mix his in with mine. To be fair, he might just be better off doing his own. I don't know. We'll see. But that means he's got 14 episodes for 14 days. Admittedly, day 1 will be fairly short. Probably day 14 shouldn't be, but day 15 is just pretty much us getting off the ferries and getting home. And then I think he's planning to do 1 complete pass per week. So really, if he does 1 video a week for each of the days, that's going to take him 14 or 15 weeks, plus his lead up to getting it done, so it's probably 16 weeks, plus time away on holiday. Probably take him to something like 19 weeks, so he's probably got about 5 months worth of video. And then on top of that, he's got the 12 passes. It shouldn't take him too long, but if he set one of those out for each week, it'd keep him going for another 12 weeks. So with that 1 trip, Paul's got enough footage to keep posting video to YouTube for all the way through to spring next year, I think. And of course, he's still got the Peak District to do. Poor man, eh? That's only 2 days away, so that'll give him sort of 2 episodes to do. So I don't think he needs to worry about being bored through the winter. It's not going to happen. Since I've been back, I've been already looking at Richie Vida's videos for their Norway tour. I'm interested in how many miles per day they did and what problems they had. The reason being, this Romanian trip was a lot tougher than we thought it should have been. The mileages that were planned in the first place weren't very far out of line with what we would normally do anyway. And in fact, on one day we had 183 miles to do, but we only managed 100. So in terms of trying to actually get to the places that we'd set ourselves for each of the days, it turned out to be a lot tougher than either of us would have expected. Hard to say why, but we did have a lot of road work starting with the M6 as it happens. We left at 9 o'clock on a Thursday night. We should have been in Folkestone 3 o'clock in the morning at the latest. Shouldn't really have taken any longer than that. But we didn't get there till about 4:30, 5 o'clock maybe. We were very, very late. It took us a long time. Mostly because of roadworks and because of a rolling police block. It delayed us an awful lot. But that kind of set the tone for the holiday. And I suspect a lot of what made it tough were roadworks. And after the first day, probably late starts and tiredness. to be fair, on day 2 we didn't leave until 11 o'clock in the morning. I mean, ordinarily we'd have left a lot earlier than that. It meant when we got to Czech Republic, for example, we got there kind of quite late in the day, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and then we had problems getting a hotel, which made that day a very, very late day. So yeah, we had those sorts of issues. I'm sort of looking at Richie Vida's Norway tour to see if he had anything similar. I know we had issues with the weather, to begin with at least. I think I might be a bit early. Never mind. So I just want to make sure we don't run into the same problems again when we go to Norway. Maybe I'm not too early. Morning. Hey, how are you? There you go. Right, here we go. Riding the bike home, and as you can see, the weather today has returned to the usual Runcorn stuff. Pretty poor, but it is more often like this than you think. Now, I picked it up, I've had it serviced and brake pads replaced at the back, and I've had the front brake light switch sorted out. To be fair, front brakes are not squealing at all. Great. Now, all of this is associated with having been away on a tour to Transfagarassen Highway. And I know it's pronounced Transfagarassen. So just an idea of what it costs. The ferry and the tunnel, my part of it came to 260. I'll count the new tyres, even though they were done a few months before they went, because they were bought specifically to last that tour. And they were 330. So in round figures, you call that £600. I then spent £1,100 on a service and having things like new fuel pump, new chain and sprockets, front brakes serviced, all that sort of stuff. That's £1,700, and I just paid £165 now, so that's £1,865. Oh, the brakes are squealing. I came home with a credit card bill of £2,200. So really, you're looking at a shade over £4,000 for what amounted to, say, a 15-day tour. Which took in a total just short of 4,000 miles for me. For Paul, it would probably just slightly top 4,000 miles. That £2,200 credit card bill, that covers hotels, fuel, food, spending money, that sort of thing. Now, I did spend a lot more getting this bike ready. I paid a lot more for tyres than I normally would, but I think I got the best. Certainly spent a lot more on the service. I did spend sort of £900 before we went to Spain, but that was on the 1400 and it did need new discs. So in principle, that was an expensive sort of setup, and it cost a lot of money all told to do. It was also hard work. Now, that's not typical. You can do it for less. But for something like that, the aim was to get a long way away from home and to do a lot of mountain passes, and on our way back it meant stopping in a lot of more expensive hotels. So for example, in Romania over 3 nights we probably spent between us about £100 on hotels, but that would have included breakfast and evening meals. So for 3 nights it wasn't actually very expensive in Romania. You get to Austria and we're finding Neustadt for 2 nights, it was £190. So we paid more effectively for 1 night in Austria than we would have paid for 3 nights in Romania. As you move into Switzerland, it gets more expensive. The 1 night we stayed in Switzerland, it cost us £150 for the hotel, and I think we spent about £100 on a meal between 2 of us. When you move into Luxembourg, we paid for 2 nights £390 for the hotel. That was for a room only for 2 nights, plus £25 per night to park. Now, bearing in mind we'd sort of make a budget of about £50 per night on average for hotels. Even the most expensive one in Luxembourg at, say, £100 a night, no sorry, £200 a night, only comes to £100 a night each. It's not a lot over the average when you bear in mind what we spent in Romania, so they do tend to average out at around about that. But I think with inflation and everything, I think next time we go I'll probably think more, maybe increase it to about £75 a night, because I have a sneaking suspicion Norway's not going to be a cheap place, to be fair. We normally allow about £50 a day for spending, which is food, beer. And if you want an idea, in Romania we had a 3-course meal, 2 bottles of wine, which we sent to a table next door, and 3 or 4 beers, and the total cost of that meal came to just under £40. When we got to Luxembourg, we checked into our hotel, walked out, walked in pretty much a straight line to the far end of Luxembourg. It didn't take long, it's about a half-hour walk altogether, but of course we did stop for food and we did stop for beer. But the next morning I had €90 less in my pocket, so that was about £80, probably a bit more, and I know Paul spent a similar amount. So when you're planning, it's not just a simple case of doing, let's make it £50 and look for hotels that you can get them. I know some people have stayed in Luxembourg and paid an awful lot less for their hotels, which is fine, that's okay. But you do need to sort of look at the countries you go into, because the further south and the further east you go, the cheaper it gets, and consequently the further north and the further west you go, the more expensive it gets. Until you get to Spain, of course, and possibly Portugal, those places you'll probably find it are starting to get cheaper again. Oh, I hate 20-mile-an-hour speed limits. So that then is the total cost for that one. I don't know how you do it. You'll probably do it completely different. We use booking.com, booked ahead in some cases. On the 2 occasions where we didn't book ahead, we couldn't find a room. But when I say booking ahead, it doesn't mean we booked before we went. You could actually, as on one occasion, we sat outside a hotel in Romania, in Curtia, went on to booking.com, checked the hotel across the road from us, which was the one I originally wanted. They had availability, so I booked it there and then, and basically walked across the road and checked in. At Brad, we booked the hotel the night before. So you can vary it, so long as you've got some apps with you on your phone. And book the important ones ahead. I booked Luxembourg ahead, top of the Stelvio Pass ahead, literally like 8 or 9 months ahead. And the Luxembourg one, again, that was booked, and the Austrian one in finding Neustadt, all of that was booked about 9 months before we went. And of course we did no camping this time. And the reason for that is we were going to have to lug camping gear all the way around Europe. And frankly, the campsites in Romania weren't any cheaper than the hotels. I'm sure we could have found a field somewhere with camping going on in it for a lot less, but that would have been a lot worse, I think, than just trying to find a hotel, which we had problems with on occasions. Right, so this is it then. I'm home with a bike now that is all sorted. Anything associated with the trip has all been taken care of. And I say the costs come out, it's had over £4,000 altogether.